Hello and welcome back.
Well, anyways, I figured I'd do the assembly video now. So, yeah. Well, off camera, while I was on the phone, I was actually cleaning this. I was scraping off all the old carbon. Spread a little bit of Ezox on it, let it sit, and actually just took my pick and just started going very lightly, so that this way I didn't scar the surface, just to get off all of the carbon off it. So that's what this shit is. Well, anyways, let's get right down to it. Well, as you know, I disassembled the rifle, so I did a complete disassembly. I figured now I'll do the assembly. Well, the one thing I like to do is to take a little bit of oil, either oil or grease. For these parts, preferably I like to use oil instead. Apply a thin coat all along the firing pin. Stick that in. Stick that right in. Now, when it comes time for your little pin, what you're going to want to do is, on the spring, it's going to have two openings. You're going to want to stick it into the easier one, only for the reason why the thinner one actually sets it in place. So, now, you're going to want to take it, and right in front of your ejector, that's where you're going to stick it into its hole. Okay. Next thing you're going to want to do, take your ejector, stick that in. Now come at it with either a pick or a thin screwdriver, whichever one you prefer. For this job, I do like using the pick. Stick it in. And all you're going to do is just set it right in place and just test it real quick. Okay. We know that works. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of these. 5-round magazine. That's for later. Alright. We have the bolt reassembled. Now, this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. Hopefully you guys can follow. I'm going to grab my barrel. I'm going to set it down. And what you're going to want to do is, remember how you took out your bolt? Well, same thing. You're going to want to take your bolt. You're going to want to find its sweet spot again. I forgot, this one likes to have the firing pin out just a little bit. And the same type of action. You stick it in, you turn it. If it wants to cooperate. Sometimes, you know as well as I do, some guns do not like to cooperate too much. Okay. That's set in. Now, at this point, you can actually set your upper end, or your heat shield. Pop that on. I like to move it all the way back, no sooner it's on. Next thing you're going to want to do, and I'm going to actually use my ashtray just to set it in. Or not set it in, but just keep it in place for right now. Now, with this, you are going to take your piston or gas tube, whichever one you prefer. Stick that in, make sure that the holes line up because your little pin has to go right in there. So, what I like to do also before, or as I'm setting it in, is I like to pull it out just a little bit, or just keep a little bit of pressure on the piston, so that this way what it's doing is it's applying a little bit of backwards tension, as you can call it. Now, I'm not going to tighten these up all the way because I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick. Okay, I'm not going to tighten these up until it's actually on the rifle. I'm just going to set these in place so that this way I do not lose them. Okay. Now the reason why I'm doing this is if these pieces are not clamped down just right, unfortunately what it's going to do is it's going to apply pressure in the wrong points. And with these bolts you want to have them with equal pressure, you know, and the way that I'm going to do that, or the way that I achieve it, is actually to do my little trick. Okay. Okay. Now I have all of my Allen screws in. Gonna give that an extra turn. Okay. Now that I have that set in place, I know point blank I'm going to have to tighten that up. Now, what I like to do is, now that I've got the bolt in, now I can go ahead and set my pin and cup in. I'm going to take my charging handle, put that on, and like I said, I'm not going to do any kind of editing on this. It's, how you see it is how you're going to get it. I'm not one for editing. I really aren't. Okay. Stay. Okay, I might actually... Sorry, I was playing. Okay, stay. Now, basically what I'm doing is I'm just setting the charging handle in place. Okay. I'm going to put the spring in with the guide rod. Now that is in. Now that's not going nowhere. We know that. Okay. I'm going to take my pin, and on the pin, you're going to notice it's got a couple cutouts. So that is, you just want to have those cutouts facing the charging lever, or the locking lever. Okay. Okay, give it a quick function test. That works. I mean, that part is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, there's nothing major to it. Now, back on to this lovely piece. Now, I'm going to back this nut off just a little bit. And what I like to do is I just like to get these all snug. At least the front two. Okay, and I'm going to do the rear ones. And the reason why I'm doing it like this is, like I said, if it's not done correctly, what'll end up happening is you'll apply bad pressure in bad areas. You want all the pressure to be in the correct areas. Okay, you want to have it equal. You gotta look at it as putting on a tire. You don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You do it in a star pattern, or in this part, or in this case, you're doing it in an X pattern. Yeah, I'm gonna. Okay. I'm gonna come up to this back one. And like I said, all I'm doing is just applying equal pressure. Because don't forget, this part goes into your stock. So I mean, if it's not aligned correctly, you're kind of fucked. Plain and simple. Okay, that's on. It's tight. I'm gonna double check it after it's on the stock. Okay. Now I'm just gonna give it another half turn with the shorter end of the wrench, where you can get a little bit more torque. You don't want to put these on too tight, but you also don't want to have them on loose. It's more or less. I'm going to put them at about 5 pounds a piece, if that. Yeah, I just judge it by the way it feels. Then I'm going to take my stock, and the way you put it on, put the front of the barrel on first. Okay. Slip it onto the rear. Take your handy dandy little fire control. Slam it down. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to check for function as well. Now, as for greasing, you can either do this before or after you put in your bolt. See what I mean? If it's not correct. Something isn't right. So now, what we're going to do is we're just going to pop it off. I got a funny feeling I know what it is. It's not that I think something's binding up, because I don't believe it is. But I'm going to check for function while it's off. See what it's doing. Okay. We know it's not. We know it's not the upper piece. So it just had to have been not set right. So, again I say, apply a little bit of pressure. Check for function that way. Okay. And what you got to do is you actually got to line up your little rectangle on the bottom. You got to line it up because you've got 2 cuts right here. Okay. Slam that down. Now normally what I like to do with oil is I'll either apply it before or after. You know, it depends. Okay. Yeah, it just wasn't set right. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of grease. And you've got some cutouts right here. Now, I mean, I've already pretty well greased this thing. You know, this is just like the aftermath. You know, you'll see where it's rubbing. You know, you can apply it before or after, whichever one you prefer. Okay. Then I apply a little bit there. That's good, that's good. Okay.